Hello and welcome to Dev Diary episode 14, I believe it is, for Sunday the 8th of July 2018. So there's a lot of cool things going on with the project at the moment. A lot of new things gone in, and I'll take you through them step by step. Towards the end of the video, all the assets that I purchased from I'll give a shout out to all those creators of some of the assets I purchased through the marketplace. So I'm not doing this live today. I'm going to do it pre-recorded, just because I want to kind of chop and change things around, and that'll become apparent why as we get into things. So we're just going to hit play, and spawn in. So you can still see that it takes a while for our grass and stuff. We have to set up some more level streaming, but you instantly notice that we have some female hands there now in for our character. And if I jump, you can see I have an animation for jump, pushing stuff, for grabbing stuff. We even have a punch. I don't know if we're going to be using that, but more exciting, we have our first spell, the fire spell. Now, if you notice in the what I'll just do is I'll make that full screen just so it's a bit easier to see. Continue. You may notice in the top right hand corner we have our elemental selection component. So we're selecting our type of attack. So earth, wind, water, fire. At the moment, even though I have fire selected, I'll go to earth. You can see that I don't have it hooked up yet. I do have the effects for that, and I'll show you, but I'll have to change those manually in the blueprint for now, until it's not far off being done, but for now I'll have to change those manually in the blueprints. So yeah, what I'm going to do is just so we can see how cool that is, we'll go to nighttime, and I'll just play from here. And you may notice that our shadows are moving. Our ultra dynamic sky is working, but there's a light component attached to the actual projectile, which is quite cool. Works even better if I come inside the hut here. So I'm inside the little house, so I'll fire it in here and you'll see that it lights up the house. So that's pretty cool. And okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to I'll probably speed up this bit, but I'm going to manually change the attack component, projectile. Okay, so now with the projectile changed, this is the wind projectile. And I just brought us back to daylight to make it easier to see. So when I fire it, you can see there. Now, since it's using the same physics as the fireball, you'll see that it bounces around rather than explodes. It kind of has an explosion effect that I'll need to hook up once it actually hits something. So there we go. That's our wind projectile. So again, I'll probably speed this up. I'll just manually change the particle system again. Okay, so as before, this is the Earth projectile. Unfortunately, again, it's using the physics from just the regular fireball. So we're gonna see that it kind of acts a bit weird, but you'd get a good idea for it. So there we go. It kind of darts off, and it still has the light attached to it from the fireball because I'm just kind of changing the particle system itself. But it'll give you an idea of the kind of different attacks. And again, like the wind, this one will be attached to the ground. It'll pull its surface, it'll pull its kind of position off the surface normals of the terrain and just crash into stuff. Okay, so again, I'll speed this up, manually change to the last one, which is water. Okay, So here we are with the water projectile. Again, same as the other one, it's using the fireball physics, so it mightn't work great. Oop, wrong button. There we go. Fire one up in the air, you'll get an idea. Fire one at the house. Yeah, it still has the light attached. Not all projectiles will need a light. Earth probably won't, although that looks very cool with the light in it. I might actually put a white light in that one. Actually, well, it's a dev diary. I have time to show you that. What we'll do is I'll just go in and temporarily change the colour of that. So now that's the light colour changed. We'll just have a go and see what it looks like. Oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe it's a bit bright, but it is a bit cool. Yeah, I like the light. Okay, so we've decided that you get a weird effect there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's going to be some secondary effects too. So just to give you an idea what some of those look like, again, I'm just going to plug them into my base projectile for now, until I get other projectile types created and have them switching within our attack component. So, particle systems. And this one's pretty cool. It's a defensive shield of water, but we're going to fire it. We're not going to actually spawn it around the player's location. Even though that mightn't be the hardest thing in the world to do, I'm just going to fire it because it'll look weird, but it'll look groovy. So okay, that is groovy. But again, this is going to be something that kind of, you know, oh, where'd that one go? Yeah, obviously it's not something that should be thrown. It's something that'll spawn around the player. So with that said, let's go through some of the other stuff that's been changed so far. We have a full menu system now. I don't know if I went through it in a previous video, but if I just hit play, you may notice that our fast travel map is back, and we have our loading screen. I have to do something about the audio, but other than that, it's fine. And it may take a while. Again, I can speed things up because this is a pre-recorded dev diary, but if I exit out, I'm going to exit game. That was actually pretty quick. So we have an about section back. My options is grayed out just for now. It will be there in the future, but I'm just kind of in two minds as to what kind of options to offer the player. And also depending on whether I'm targeting console or PC, which kind of options would be the best to go with. Our credits. Again, this is only basic credits for now. I will be accrediting all the content creators in the marketplace as well, in kind of an extended rolling credits. We've exit game and start game, so just click on exit game. Now, unfortunately, in the editor, when we exit game like that, it crashes us. Well, it doesn't crash us. It exits back and puts the camera at the editor camera at the origin. That's why we see a lot of these kind of global assets here. But I can quickly go back to the demo area, the village. If I just click on the fast stone and press F to focus, and I'm back in the village. So with that said, there are the menus. Also, it's a minor thing, but it's worth showing. Through my messing about, somehow I had altered the ocean. So the ocean we have here now is slightly different to the one we were using before. Again, this ocean asset that we're using is placeholder for now. I'd like to get something a bit more photorealistic and a bit more kind of advanced. But you will see that we still have, or we have now, bubbles and kind of some render effects going on, distortion, things like that. Again, it's not ideal. I'd like to get something better in there, but it'll do for now for like a pre-beta pre-alphas, kind of early builds. Again, I do have a build of this every week. The end of every working week now is marked with a build of the game to maintain the pipeline. I'm having some trouble. I can build a version for shipping, but when I build a debug version, it crashes, which is the point of a debug. You're meant to find the log and read it. So I just have to locate the log and figure out what's going on. I have some hunches. So for now, we have our little water projectile. I'm quickly going to change that back. Okay, so yeah. So now we're back with a particle that makes a bit more sense. Even though it's water, it should splash, it shouldn't bounce around like that. But yeah, I'm just having a bit of fun throwing them here. So we'll go inside, see what that works like inside. Okay, so that's been all the kind of major changes so far this week. What I'll be doing in the coming days is you notice how I can still fire while I'm inside kind of civilian areas or areas that I kind of ideally don't want to be casting magic. So I'm going to have some kind of volume that sits over the house, and the projectile will only be fired if I'm outside of those volumes. So if a certain condition equals 0, then I'm able to fire. So it means that when you're in settlements and that, you may get a little message that will say this action is not available right now, or cannot cast magic. You know, creating safe zones and stuff like that. A simple volume that I can place anywhere in the map when I don't want the player to be engaged in kind of casting magic and stuff. But once they're out in the main map and in areas like that, they should be able to cast away. So, cool guys. I'll go through some of the other stuff that I'd like to get done. So we have a fairly complex first-person character blueprint at the moment. If I zoom out, you can see that it's getting quite dense. There's still a lot more. I've left gaps here because there's a lot more to be added. But we have our fire current attack component, and we have an alt fire mode and a fire projectile mode. So this one will be for the defensive stuff. This is for the offensive stuff. We have our attack selections there for the attacks for the HUD widget, and we have select next attack and previous attack. Kind of typical first-person controls there with previous and next. We have our menu stuff. We have our event tick here. So we have anything that's going on a tick will be in this, and we're going to try it. There's some text being printed here, but it's actually looks a bit more complex than it actually is. Our begin play and other kind of stuff. You can see here we have an update health that I'm going to hopefully do a bit on in the next week. But other than that, the main goal for the coming week, or the next week or two should I say, is to basically have our 4 primary attacks selectable through choosing our element, and then once I have that, it'll be relatively easy to set up our alt fire, our secondary kind of defensive magic after that. So guys, I just want to go through some of the assets that I used in that I've been using recently and added to the project. So the first one we're going to go through is this one here, Lewis's 4 elements. I believe this was on the Unreal Marketplace for €16.53 or something like that. Well worth checking out. Although I won't be using the some of the fire projectiles, I'll be using a different one that I'll show you now. It's well worth checking that out. I believe lewisarts.com is his webpage where you can kind of check out all his stuff there, and there's some really cool particle effects and things like that on there. But a very reasonable price for those assets, and I'll be doing some tweaking with them, but I'm pretty happy with them so far. So back over to my library again. The hands, they came from this animated medieval first-person arms pack. Now he has a non-medieval one that are just basically plain arms that I was going to use, and I still might in the future, but I kind of liked the female arms with the kind of leather gauntlets, I suppose they are, or kind of maybe there's a better word for them, but yeah, they're the arms that we were using, and they were, with all the animations and everything, they were on the marketplace for €38.65, and well worth checking out. And Iron Belly Studios were the creators of those, and they've got a whole medieval pack to go along with the arms, and kind of you can kind of extend on things from there. So great work from Iron Belly Studios. I believe they're from Montreal or Quebec, I'm not sure. They're Canadian anyways, and they're well worth checking out. Now also, you may have heard me talk in this dev diary about the ocean, and how I wanted to get a more advanced and more photorealistic ocean. With that in mind, I've gone back to looking at an open source Unreal project that is available, and you may notice here it's on GitHub, and the Ocean project. It's kept up to date with all the latest versions of the engine, and it's well worth checking out. But I have it fired up here in Unreal, and you may notice that if I go in here, that we get a far more photorealistic ocean, that also has some buoyancy actors and stuff like that. But I'll just play from here, and I'll run into the sea. This is just the startup demo map, but you can see already that there's some kind of swimming physics in there and buoyancy to the player, but it's a far more realistic and a far more kind of desirable ocean solution. You can change, it's tied into its own sky dome, and you can change the kind of whether it's stormy or whether it's kind of placid and kind of calm like this. So I'm looking at maybe integrating that into maybe a branch of my project to see if I can get it to work. It's going to involve a bit of tinkering in C++, something that I'm not overly confident with. But as far as solutions go, this seems to be the best solution. It also provides an infinite plane here, that's continually drawn regardless of the size of the map. The one I'm currently using, I'm having to fake it using a fog in the distance to kind of get around the fact that there is an edge to my ocean and terrain. So cool, guys. Kind of a nice video to bring you today. There's been some nice changes in the project, and hopefully in the next coming weeks there's some other stuff that might be equally as cool, and some of you guys might find just as interesting, that will be coming soon. Cool, guys. Thanks for tuning in.